Hello and blessings, beautiful souls. Avalon here, and I wanted to do something a little bit different. So what I have here in front of me are a mix of tools that I like to use alongside my tarot and oracle readings. Now, I may reach for these tools during client sessions, or I might reach for these tools for myself personally. And so I have a mix of them here. And these are probably the ones that I use most often, but I do use much more than what I'm showing you here because I'm very eclectic that way. I like the tools. I just like the tools and they make me happy. Now, what I particularly like to do is when I'm doing a tarot reading and I'm laying out and I'm shuffling and I'm laying out my cards, I might be like, okay, yeah, here's what I need. Oh yeah, I need just that little bit of extra clarity. I'm going to pull that from here, or I'm going to pull another layer to better understand, to add a framework or a lens over the top of a reading. And I might pull, you know, a tool here, and I might bring in a meditation this and a seer stone there. And I just do the things, right? I reach for the tools. And so these are the tools that I really enjoy using. These are the tools that have a deep, personal, significant relationship to me and the way that I read my cards, both for myself and for others. So I'm going to start with my witch's fetish. I should have ended with my witch's fetish, but this is my witch's fetish. This particular item has within it a spirit, and that spirit is something that came to be bonded with the fetish itself during an initiation ceremony in the deep wilds of far north Queensland during an absolute tempest, when I was sitting there in ritual space doing the things, and I journeyed to meet the spirit, and the spirit came with me voluntarily, and the spirit now lives inside my fetish. And so when I'm into deep spirit work, I reach for my fetish and I seek the wisdom of the spirit within it. And so that to me is one of the most precious tools in my collection, and it is something that I simply do not do without. Okay, likewise, particular stones. This stone here is extremely important to me. It is a ritual stone, and it is an anhydro stone. So it has an ancient water droplet in it. Water droplet is the conduit to the divine. It activates the seer quality within me. Likewise, it does this particular anhydro quartz, very different, and this particular crystal. So I like to use seeing crystals or divining stones during my readings to give me a better depth, or to help me see another layer, something that might be hidden from me through just a simple reading. Now, that to me works a treat, and I find that these types of approaches with these types of tools, crystals, scrying stones for instance, are fantastic during the season of the witch. So if you are currently edging towards your Samhain, just having experienced your autumn equinox, or if you're in the spring here with me and we've just gone through that spring season and we're edging towards Beltane, this is a beautiful time to start using these tools, because these are the times where the veil are at the thinnest. The veils of the world, between the worlds, that is when they are at their thinnest. And so a lot more psychic energy can flow backwards and forwards. A lot more spirit activity can be felt at the time of these significant cross quarters. A lot of magical practitioners doing some magical things, ancestral veneration, celebration of the primal wild, things of that nature. And so these types of tools work wonders at that particular time of the year, but also at all times of the year if you just want to add another layer. And that's something that I like to do. So for this one here particularly, I don't ever like to hold it in my hand and look into it like I'm looking for something. What I like to do is know ahead of time that I'm going to be using it, and then I place it off to the side there. So when I'm sitting here and I'm musing at the cards, I may see reflections of things come to pass in the actual sphere itself, and that, you know, works for me, and I'll journal with that, and I'll journey with that as well, and I'll pull some cards to elaborate on what I might see there, and it's all very lovely. So beyond that, what I like to do, and this is more for myself than for anybody else, is to draw cards, and this works really well with either tarot or oracle, although I do like using oracle for this, is to pull a card and to look at it, to journal for a bit, and then to get that overall keyword, that power word. And then I will utilize my mala and meditate on that keyword with my mala beads. This is a fantastic ritual to do at the new moon, for instance, but also the full moon. And if you are doing release work, but the waning phase of the moon, it doesn't really matter. I like to work with the mala. I like to work with that meditative, repetitive meditative facet, and it makes me really happy to use them alongside oracle in particular, especially if the oracle was very, very powerful in its revelation. But I do this. I'd be lying if I said I didn't do this with tarot as well. There are some times where you get a 3-card, pull, Maiden, Mother, Crone, for instance, and, just an enormous amount of power just exudes out of the cards themselves. And so, yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to journal, and we're going to get our keywords, and we're going to definitely hit that with some mala action. So then I've got these quirky little things, and these little unique goddess runes were made by Elder Crow, and they are, as I've just said, goddess runes. And I happen to love utilizing these little babies alongside my readings. There will be times where they'll just be sitting here, and I'm going to be card slinging, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and I just want to add a little something extra, and I'm like, who can I pull wisdom from today? And I pull wisdom from, Isis, for instance, and I begin to work cohesively with Isis in context with the reading, and I research Isis, and then I go a little bit deeper into it. So a simple reading with a result gives me one thing, and then I've got homework as a result of it as well. So I like to challenge myself when I'm doing readings for myself particularly, and I always want to make sure that I'm consistently learning, so I'm always pulling tools in that will help me to just push that further for myself. Another lot of of runes, they're not goddess runes, they're proper Elder Futhark bone runes. These bad boys rock my world all the time. I don't use runes as a divination system per se, and many do successfully, but my fascination with runes is not in the divination aspects. It's in the deeper understanding aspect. It's in the meditation. It's in the journey. So I like to do these beautiful meditations. So let's say I've done a beautiful reading and I want to fortify that reading, and I pull some runes to understand things from a different perspective, and then I might do a journey beyond that, and I might journey on either one of the runes that I pulled or many of the runes in the matter of days that follow, for instance. I like to take it really slow when it comes to runes, and I have a deep respect for the runes. I'm not a runic master by any stretch of the imagination, but to work with them in such a passive and just an interconnected and a layered ambiance, as I like to create when I'm doing readings, works so well for me, and it gives me something more. Now, like I said, I have a deep respect for the runes. I have them tattooed on my wrist. They have an energy that I find totally alluring, and they work so beautifully with tarot in particular. So I do love it. And it's not rare for me to pull some tarot cards, to have my fetish here, to pull in some bone runes, and to make a big mess of things that looks absolutely deliciously esoteric, because for me, looking at this, it is messy, but it actually brings something more to the equation for me to contemplate. And so I love it. I absolutely love it. This is the bone stone, by the way, in case you didn't know. And last but by no means least, I like to work with the spirit of plants. So I'm an animist. I have not hidden this fact in any way, but I absolutely love having herbs scattered all over my reading space. In fact, it is a must. In my working candles, I have them laden with herbs. I like to have them on my table in one form or another, and strewn about the place, because I believe that they add a depth of meaning to your space. They enhance a sacred space. They enhance a reading space. I mean, we oftentimes as readers, we like to use things like Palo Santo, which I absolutely do love to use, and let's light a bit of that. We might use a smudge stick of sorts to smoke cleanse, and you know, that adds that depth of experience to the reading. It might not be the most active of aids, but it definitely has an impact on your temple space and on your reading space. You know, just lighting this little piece of Palo Santo here. Palo Santo. I love it. It just brings everything together. The smell is very activating. It just gets the ambiance, you know, to do what it needs to do. It infuses it with that sense of sacred. And so herbs can be a wonderful way of helping you to create ambience in which to read in. It can be a wonderful way to, you know, to be utilized as sort of like a more air element experience by burning and smoking. I happen to find that having things like rosemary in your sacred space is very protective, but it also helps you to retain the information. And when you're doing a lot of readings, it's nice to have a herb that's going to help you to retain some essences from those readings and help you to be able to really, you know, look back on those experiences with a sense of clarity. I remember most of the readings that I've done. I'd be lying if I said I remembered them all, because I've done thousands now and I simply cannot remember them all. But sometimes I do get these vague flickers of memories about the readings that I've done, and I think that that's a result of the fact that I do use a lot of rosemary. I also like to use a lot of rose. I use a lot of jasmine. I use aniseed and sage. I have my favorites, folks, and sometimes my favorites will rotate with the season, which makes sense, and sometimes they won't. Sometimes I'll just have, you know, cloves and juniper berries and, you know, star anise here, and that's how I like it for months and months and months. But I sort of just go with what works for me, and that's the best approach for me. But I think that having herbs in your sacred space is a wonderful aid for when you do your tarot and oracle readings. It brings that element of earth. It helps to ground the space more. It helps to be present. It helps to listen. It helps to look. And the entire experience is just, you know, infinitely more improved, in my very humble opinion. So there you have it. They are some of the tools that I like to utilize within my reading space alongside my tarot and oracle readings. Yes, there are many other tools that I like to reach for. I have lots more, you know, things like crow claw, and I have little wands like this, and I have more spirit work crystals and candles, and, you know, I have some other more esoteric style tools. But to actively utilize and work alongside, these are the tools that I really enjoy utilizing. And so I would like to hear from you. What sort of tools do you use alongside your tarot and oracle practice? Are there tools that you use more than others? By the way, I would probably add a pen and a journal to my list of tools, because, you know, I go there, look, right underneath my desk, pen and journal. That's probably one that bears mentioning, because I do use that quite a bit, and it does help me to elaborate and to understand my readings and to really record my readings as well. So yeah, I should have probably put that in the mix there as well. But I would like to know what you personally utilize in your readings to create depth and layer and meaning to your readings. I'm not necessarily talking here about ritual space per se, although it's impossible to look at all of these things and not think ritual space. So if you want to share aspects of your ritual space that help you to enhance your tarot and oracle readings, I would love to hear about that as well. And so there you have it, beautiful souls. Wishing you all so much love, luck, peace, and joy. I sincerely hope that you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. Much love, many blessings. Mwah!